Hello friends! By the time you are watching this, I am already in Jamaica, which I can't even believe I'm saying that, but I promise you I will bring back plenty of videos and photos. I am planning on doing some plein air painting, and yeah, just having my first real vacation in far too many years. For today's video, I wanted to kind of introduce you to something I've been working on. This is, I guess I would call it a more illustrative style of doing landscapes, and I feel like it would go really well with storybook or picture book illustrations. So I've been trying to get better at it, figure out a good workflow, and just play with all the possibilities. It was suggested to me that this might make a really good Skillshare class, so I'm gonna maybe play with that when I get back from vacation. I'm already planning a Skillshare class for plein air painting, especially with gouache, and so if that goes well, or I'll learn a lot by doing that, then maybe I can do one with this fun style of illustration. And the cool thing about this is that it could be applied to so many different things, not just landscapes. So I feel like it could be useful for a wide variety of people. The postcards you see me working on today are all for my Patreons, and I like to do a different theme each month for the postcards. And since I've been working on this style, kind of trying to practice it for my illustration portfolio, I thought it would be a really fun way to kind of involve the people who support me. One thing I noticed pretty quickly is that this is a much slower paced way of working than I'm used to. I'm more used to using like many layers, overlapping layers, thick layers, blending between layers, and just working my brush back and forth quickly to get certain blending. And this, on the other hand, is more like painting in different chunks, like different areas get their own color. They don't necessarily overlap very much. And then I come back and I do some detail and outlining with colored pencils. So it's a completely different thing than I'm used to. But I will say that it's really kind of meditative in a way. Like once I get the line drawing ready and I start painting, I kind of just lose myself and I find it really relaxing. It's almost like paint by number for me in a way, as long as I just have a general idea of what colors I want to use. I can just kind of go with the flow. One thing I've noticed as I continue developing this style is that it's not even so much about the actual skill of putting the paint on the paper, which obviously it takes some of that, but it's more about the design of the actual landscape. So where will the negative space be? Are some elements going to be solid, or are they going to be rendered more realistically? Like how thick will the outlines be? What style of trees will they be? It's so much about the planning part of it than the execution. So that's actually been a really fun change for me, because a lot of times I just go straight into a landscape without thinking much about it. Like I might know what it's generally going to look like or what colors I'm using, but in terms of how it gets created, it's very spontaneous. So this is a departure from that, and even though it's very relaxing, there is some sense of rigidness to the process. Like I have to kind of follow the rules, I guess. But I'm still figuring out what those rules are. So, I'm still having fun with it. So I've been working on these during some recent live streams, and people have been asking me if I am just using reference photos or from my imagination, and these cards are all from my imagination, but I can definitely see how you could use a reference photo and try to interpret it in this more simplistic way. And I actually think that could be a fun challenge. So what I'm going to try to do when I'm in Jamaica is I'll probably paint like I normally paint while I'm outside, but I think for a few of the paint sessions, I'm going to try to do this style based on what I see in front of me. So if I can record those, I will, and I'll bring them back for you guys, because I think that would be kind of a fun experience to share. Also, I think it would just be really cool to have some of these illustrations based on my trip. But when it comes to the actual design of the landscape, if I'm using my imagination, since I already do so many landscapes, I have a lot of these forms in my visual library in my head, so I can reference those things in my head, and then it just becomes like putting together a puzzle. Like, how will I do the forest or the clouds or the mountains? And I just kind of wing it as I figure it out as I go. But if you're someone who prefers to plan everything out in advance, then I suggest doing really quick, loose sketches on just like scrap paper. And then once you figure out some of your favorite layouts, try to go into the painting. Because as you start painting, you start to realize like what areas of the landscape should be emphasized and which ones shouldn't. And that's like, I'm figuring that out as I paint it, which is, there's a lot of lessons learned. But, this has been so valuable, and I already went back and did a more loose, expressive landscape since I was painting these, and felt like even more free than usual. So that was really fun. If you want to get one of these postcards, you just have to join my Patreon postcard tier before the end of January. And some of them are already claimed, but if you see one here that you really, really want to claim, just shoot me a message when you sign up, and I'll just do it on a first come, first serve. So thank you all for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed this video, even though it was a little different than my usual videos. Let me know what you think, and I will talk to you guys soon.